Welcome to Ultimate Orlando Clicks. We get started this week over at Universal Studios. This is the Diagon Alley expansion of Harry Potter. This is a shot we've seen before through the looking glass window. Thought it would be interesting this time to kind of highlight the fact that this front building, the one with the collapsible roof there, is really just a facade, and I think they're probably going to leave it looking like a facade. You can see right through it. This, is, of course, is the back building, the show building itself, the Diagon Alley construction happening in front of it. All this ductwork for air conditioning on the side. It's going to be cold in there. We're switching over to Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now you can tell we are on Discovery Island. This is the new meet and greet area for Mickey Mouse over on the side here. And over on the left here, this animal enclosure has been empty for a very long time until somewhat recently. I don't know when they moved them here, but the blue and yellow macaw now has a home here on the center part. So the Tree of Life is sort of in the background there. Now, just opposite the walkway from here, the snack stand isn't new, but what's on it is new. Allergy dining tips. So these are allergy dining options for you, all from one particular snack stand centrally located in Disney's Animal Kingdom. We saw a couple of characters make several up and down, I guess probably training runs, walking around with the guests out in the park in Disney's Animal Kingdom. These same characters, King Louie and Baloo, were just walking back and forth for at least 20 minutes. Couple shots for you here of the Festival of the Lion King building under construction out behind Tusker House. I think there's another shot in a moment, at least of the walls. Here we have a shot a little bit compacted. It isn't quite as busy as perhaps you're thinking here. It's a little bit compacted because of the angle we're standing at, but this is a shot of the Kilimanjaro Safari entrance and the guy holding the sign saying, Fast Pass wait time from this point 15 minutes. So there's a 15-minute queue just to get into the Fast Pass area for Kilimanjaro Safari. Now, a moment earlier, before this picture was taken, this guy was standing next to the Dawa bar, so it's the line stretches back pretty far sometimes. We've switched over to Rafiki's Planet Watch, where I don't know how long it's been there, but I don't recall seeing this particular shade awning for character meet and greets. This is on the outside of Conservation Station, so the main entrance to it is just on the right over here. So this is new to me, at least. They have mushrooms set up and some whimsical signs behind that. And then the Conservation Station stage here has been here for some time, but I don't recall seeing these particular things on the side. They are, of course, monitors covered with ivy, so you can't tell what they look like from the distance. That struck me as new. And then taking the train back, you'll notice some construction walls just at the very end of the train journey. So it's actually a pretty big zone here, which, let's zoom in a little bit. You see they've done a lot of raising and destruction of the ground and the trees that are in there. You can see it as well from the other side. This is the other side of that area. That area has been cleared just beyond this clump of trees right here. So perhaps there's going to be a new walkway back here, or perhaps it's a new backstage pathway. There's no explanation for what's going on over there. Just thought this was interesting. There are still some Kodak signs left out and about in the parks. This particular one is obviously near Dinosaur. And in the Dino Land area, I think somewhere around here, probably on the left, to the left of the caricature artist, was a DVC booth that has been taken away. So it's unusual that you see DVC booths being taken away. They get added a lot, but you don't always notice when they're gone. Switching over to the Transportation and Ticket Center, the TTC at the Magic Kingdom. I don't know how long this has been true, but it struck me that this little awning over to the side of this coffee shop was new, providing some shade and a space for a couple of tables. So they're expanding the operations out in the TTC. There are a couple of shots from the TTC area for you. This is obviously a high telephoto shot of the DVC construction happening at the Polynesian. So you can see the wedding pavilion in the background of the Grand Floridian. And this is one of those walkways, I guess, that they're extending out into the marsh at the moment. It's going to be something a lot more wet than a marsh later on by the time they're done. Taking the monorail over to the Polynesian, you see this pile of dirt. That's been there for some time, but the fact that it's continuing to stay there suggests that maybe they're compacting the ground. This is something they have to do when they build tall construction nearby. So maybe this is going to be a building related to the DVC or the DVC Welcome Zone. That's a possibility. So we were right next to the Transportation and Ticket Center when this picture is taken. Now, inside the Polynesian Ceremonial House, the Wyland Gallery is gone. So this has just been closed up, covered up. There's no indication of anything in there. The zone, the window shopping zone right next to it has been converted to kind of more generic Polynesian stuff. But around the corner from there, you still see some Wyland Gallery things, some Wyland art, and the name Wyland itself is still there on that particular display case. Now let's step outside from the Polynesian and take a look around out on the beach area. The construction for the DVC area is not very hidden from the beach itself. As you see, you can go fairly close to it and walk almost right up to the construction. We'll do just that. We'll walk along this pathway here and then have a look out with a telephoto lens at what they are building out there. Some vertical constructions are going up. Pylons obviously in the water. These are meant to be overwater bungalows. They've got the area kind of closed off here to make their own little lagoon, so there's no wake happening in there. You can see that these are actually fairly close to the beach once these bungalows are finished, and that there's a kind of a more oval shape to the entire layout. So one clutch of bungalows will go out here, and then there'll be a side walkway, and then more out here, and then it'll come back around and join up with the land again on the other side. There's a better view of that marshy area. And they've obviously got a need for heavy construction, so there is some heavy equipment out there. I'm guessing that they have built these support pylons strong enough to take all that much weight. Here's a glance inside that gate that we were at right there. More earth-moving equipment. In fact, there's a lot of land that's been cleared over on the right there. So we're going to walk our way over to the end of this and have a look at the piers so far. Another shot of that heavy equipment out in the front there. And a shot through some of the beams into the Grand Floridian. Not a shot you'll be able to take once everything gets filled in. Of course, everything is flat at the moment. But that won't be the case as the vertical construction continues on the DVC for the Polynesian Resort. Okay, taking the monorail further over to the Magic Kingdom. It's been the subject of speculation for some time online what exactly these things are that they're assembling in this zone between the Grand Floridian over on my right and the Magic Kingdom coming up here. Well, the addition of these buoys has made it patently obvious what's going on, and the pieces have begun to be assembled and painted, so you can tell what exactly these things are. These are the bridges that form the connection between the ferry boat and the dock. So what they are doing is either replacing or expanding all of these connection bridges between the ferry boats and the dock. I have heard, obviously very unofficially, and I don't know how trustworthy that is, that they are expanding so that they have the possibility for two boats docked at the Magic Kingdom and up to two boats docked at the TTC, or maybe it's just two at the TTC and one at the Magic Kingdom. But that would increase their ability to load and move people faster if they can have more ferry boats operating at the same time. So with the monorail increasingly under construction, perhaps this is a needed expansion for them. There's another shot, both of the buoys and then others of the bridges still undergoing construction. Behind me, on the other side of the monorail, are still more pieces for them to assemble. Saw Marie the cat out in the Magic Kingdom, and reportedly she's got a new look. I don't really remember what the old look looks like, but I think her costume has changed slightly. Let's have a look at the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and I want to draw your attention to this corner here. We're going to zoom in on that, and you'll see that there are some things in the wall. It took me a while to figure out exactly what's going on. I think what they've done is actually ripped out the scaffolding that was here. So they've started to pull the scaffolding off of the mountain, which is an indication that they're getting closer and closer to finished. These walls were very tight up against the Winnie the Pooh area recently, but they've pushed back now. And if you go around the corner from there, you'll notice that the walls, at least in this one little corner of the park, have been dropped. So you can see the the rock work right behind it, and you can peek over and get a better glance at what's going on at the drop itself, and then the staircase over here. You can get a closer look at the plants which have begun going in over at the top. So they've begun planting the grasses, as it were. And you can see they've got some flowers and shrubs mixed in with those grasses. This is what that rockwork looks like. People are using it for stroller parking. And some shrubbery over in the corner here. Still a pretty high wall, though. You're not going to get a lot of peaks over that particular wall. But around the corner from there is a lower wall, and when you look over the lower wall, you are seeing this. Now, this is the big drop over on the right. Obviously, we come down here, and then the train comes across this bridge. It's a big helix. Now, in the view we just had, actually, let me go back to the view we just had. I'm going to isolate this little eye bolt hook here, and then there's something else in the rockwork. I think it's right around here that we'll take a look at. Here's a hook, themed and colored, of course, but it's really not explained what it's there doing in the middle of the boulder. And nearby, just above it, is this little device. From a distance, it looks like a webcam or maybe some RFID sort of thing. But here, it just kind of looks like something strong made to hold a strong rope. And in fact, upwards on top of the mountain, there's another one of those. And all the way at the very peak of the mountain is yet another one of those. Now, I don't think those are lightning rods. For that matter, there are no lightning rods visible, at least not yet. Maybe they're there to kind of hold the train in place in case they have to do an evacuation or something. So to give you that overview again, there's that first hook. Here's that second, well, actually the second one is over here, I think. And then the other two tall ones are up here on top of that boulder and then all the way up here somewhere. So those are kind of scattered around the mountain, places to perhaps hold a train in place. Now, you can see that these stairs are permanent, and we'll take a closer look at those in a moment. This railing is permanent, and I do have a close-up of that. They're still working on the railing here. This railing looks temporary, actually. It doesn't have the same post theming, and the rail itself doesn't look themed, so perhaps they're still in the process of building that out. A couple closer shots first of what the grasses look like, and the plugs where they're shoving the grasses on top of and into. At the end of that drop there, you'll see that it goes into crystal clear waters and some neat looking rock theming. Obviously got some some landscaping into place here. This, I'm guessing, this water will connect with the water under the bridge that we're standing on over to the BR Guest water. It certainly looks that way from the BR Guest side. Here's a closer look at that drop as it valleys out. You can see the finished fence here and the waterfall coming down right next to it. And then the curve continues, obviously highly banked. You can see that low wall where we are here and the Under the Sea building over in the background there. A reverse angle of where we were just standing a moment ago. So as it comes out of the curve, it's out of the drop, it's immediately going into that curve. You can see the themed bridge here, and they've got a little bit of a lamp right here. Another view of that curve as it goes up and around. In fact, a closer view of that same curve. And then this is a view of one of the trees up on the mountain, one of the artificial trees. I thought it was interesting that the tree looked to be metal, at least at its core. So I found myself wondering if maybe the tree itself is meant to be the lightning rods of the mountain. Here's that promised closer view of the finished railing, kind of scalloped out looking, and then the fence along the back rail. There's that where that picture was taken right there. And this is a reverse angle of where we've been standing that whole time. You can see the low wall and the castle in the background to give you a sense of where we've been. Now, walking back toward the castle just slightly and looking over that tall wall, you get just a glimpse of this curve here, which we've been able to see through the peak zone. The peak zone is right around here where the mouse is now. And so that must be the final curve because I'm seeing what looks like trim brakes here. And then, if not a station, then maybe the 4 station, something you might evacuate on in case there's another train in the station. So this appears to be the end of the attraction right here. And then back where we were over by Under the Sea, the low wall continues, and now you can see all the way over to Tomorrowland from here. This wall has been here for some time, but they've taken away any coverings over the top of it. Now, Under the Sea building itself had this weird white thing on top of it, and so I took a telephoto shot of it, and it wasn't until I got home that I recognized what I think we're seeing is not something on top of it so much as the paint has peeled off. Implying that the paint is coming off in a rather thick layer on the top of the Under the Sea building. That might have been a side effect of the recent problem they had. There was a firework that exploded over this area, and that what launches in the area behind them. It wasn't anywhere near here, but little debris could have come and maybe lit something on fire up top here. One thing it did light on fire was the grasses, and this was reported in several news media outlets. I want you to look at how close the people are here to the rockwork and then follow this palm tree up to this zone, and we're going to zoom in the next picture to that same zone. And you'll see that there is some fire damage visible to the crowds. Now, the fire damage that we're looking at, obviously this black scorch mark here, and then the rest of this stuff, in retrospect, I recognize is plastic goo. This is the melted grasses that had been on fire here. And so really, that's the only fire damage we're looking at. The Seven Dwarfs Mine shop has closed, giving some additional seating for the Friar's Nook area. Splash Mountain is closed and drained. Has been for some time, actually. They've got a lot of scaffolding up, and they've got some work going on directly onto the tracks. It looks like they might be adding new equipment and the rollers down below there. And then the drop is under heavy reconstruction. So looking at what is unpainted on both sides of the drop, I think what we're seeing is that they may have cut off those tips on both sides there and rebuilt them, or at least they're repainting them. But it looks like they may have cut them off and started over, resculpting them. There may have been water damage or that sort of thing from that previously. Now earlier I showed you a Kodak photo spot. Here's another Nikon photo spot. This one is in Splash Mountain. So maybe they're going park by park as they do these replacements. Pirates of the Caribbean is getting a new roof. You can see there's no tiles on the roof at the moment. The Tiki Room, although it is open, has got some construction going on the outside, some annual refurbishment. This area recently came out of annual refurbishment, and I'm going to highlight this tent in a moment here. You can see that they obviously built a new tent because they left the line there visible where you could see the old tent. I don't remember this quite looking like this last time. Maybe the yellow is just extra bright this time, or maybe all of this is brand new. I do know that the fabrics on the inside look all brand new to me. And then I did notice that they're started to use, at least on this particular day, a kind of standard garment rack that you can shop through in the Agrabah Bazaar. The area next to Casey's Corner has reopened. There were some walls up here recently, and instead of flowers and kind of a trellis type looking fence, there are no fences, and there's freshly planted grass in this area here now. Casey's remains closed, but now they're selling hot dogs, at least from the area right in front of it. And then the City Hall renovation continues. Now they've closed off the staircase completely, so I'm not sure what they're doing to the staircase behind those walls. Now you may recognize we are inside a monorail cab here as I take this picture and looking at this fence along the outside of the Magic Kingdom. And this blob here, when we zoom in, turns out to be some interesting wildlife. And it's not a peregrine falcon like I thought it was at first. It appears to be a Cooper's hawk, which is more common. Nonetheless, it's interesting to see wildlife right there at the Magic Kingdom. At one time, I actually caught some photos of a bald eagle with a catch, a rabbit catch, in its talons, only a few miles from the very entrance to the Magic Kingdom itself. So there really is wildlife here in Florida. Now for our game, where in Walt Disney World was this? This was the question last time, and I did see a couple of correct guesses in the comments. This is the wall on the outside of the castle walls for New Fantasyland, kind of facing the Pinocchio Village House. And this crest was really only there for a week or two. And they took it down before the land opened to the public. Obviously, the crest features many things that would have been there in the Fantasy Forest, like the emphasis on Sleeping Beauty with these things here, these four details here, that is not present now that they didn't build the Aurora house that was going to be there, where now we have the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train going up. All right, here's your next one. Where in Walt Disney World was this? Leave your comments in the section below, and we'll see you next week if you were right. That does it for this time, guys. We thank you, as always, for checking in and checking it out, and we will see you next week.